As was noted at the beginning of our Eucharist today, many of the scholars consider this chapter an epilogue, an add-on, that the Gospel of John really ended with chapter 20, and someone tacked this one on. And yet we have to be very grateful that somebody tacked it on. It's beautiful. And for John, in John's Gospel, Jesus is in this chapter, in my opinion at least, much more human, much more loving. He's strong in the rest of the gospel. He knows what he wants, and he's going to get it. In a sense, he's in charge. But he kind of withdraws a little bit. He's still in charge, but he's more gentle. He calls to the guys in the boat children. He said at the Last Supper that they are his friends. Now they are his children. They are part of his family. He encourages them. Put your net on the other side. And when they do, they realize that alone their labor is fruitless, but with the recognition that it is the Lord who directs them, that their labor is abundantly fruitful. Peter, overcome with love and devotion, cannot wait for the slow movement of the boat. He's once again going to take things into his own hands, so to speak, and get there as fast as he can. But when they all get there, what do they see? A charcoal fire prepared, fish, bread. Breakfast is prepared for them. Jesus has done this for him. He has prepared for them. He has labored for them. He has worked for them. And then he encourages them to bring some of the fish which they caught and put those fish with his fish. That they're doing this together. That they're joining in a more intimate way into his labor. Becoming greater, better apostles, disciples. And then we have the beautiful scene of Jesus is repeating 3 times to Peter the question, do you love me? There's the fire, reminiscent of the courtyard. There's the 3 questions, a little bit different, but do you love me? It's interesting that on the one hand, at least I find it so, that Peter doesn't really answer the question as Jesus asks it. Each time, I think Jesus says, do you love me more? Peter doesn't say, yes, I love you more. He simply says, I love you. And the third time, you know all things, you know I love you. And that, I think, is reminiscent of the Last Supper, where Peter says, even if all of these abandon you, I love you so much that I won't abandon you. Only to find out a few hours later how shallow his claim was. But in this whole process, he has discovered, as he never knew before, what Jesus was talking about when he talked about the love of the Father. I believe that when Peter does not cry in John's Gospel, but if he cried, it's not because he felt guilty as much as when Jesus looked into his eyes, he experienced in a way he had never experienced before the unconditional love that Jesus had for him. And that he was utterly overwhelmed with that love. And anytime any of us have felt deeply loved, most of the time anyway, for a lot of people, tears come to our eyes. It is simply so overwhelming. And Peter has learned from that. He doesn't brag anymore. Simply, you know that I love you. At the end, Jesus, many people say that he's commenting on how Peter's going to die. Well, maybe in a sense that. But you know, Peter had said at the Last Supper, I will follow you. I will give my life for you. And here Jesus is saying, yes, Peter, you will. You will follow me. You will give your life for me. You will glorify the Father by entering into the mystery of the passion, of my passion, death, and resurrection. And you will glorify God by the way you live and the way you die. Yes, come, follow me. And isn't that the prayer of all of us? That we have the love to truly follow our God. That our lives every day will glorify God by the way that we live. And truly, if we glorify God by the way we live each day, we will glorify God by the way we die, for we will die in him. Let that be our prayer. Lord, you know that I love you. My love might be incomplete. It might not be all either of us want it to be, but I'm trying to get to know you, that I might get to know your love. And I try as best I can each day to follow you. And when I fail, when I fall, I know that you look on me with love, that you forgive me, and you continue to say, follow me.